So I guess that's the Frost effect. Welcome back to the only college football recap show on Loud and Opinionated, and it's coming at you every single Monday. This is College Football Hangover, all the highlights, all the lowlights, everything in between. I am your host, Jake Williams, and I'm bringing the show to you the only way I know how, with bad jokes. Alright, so let's talk about the top 10. We're going to start the same way we did last week. We're doing that every single week. We're going to talk about the top 10 and how they fared in Saturday's action. So first up, we have Alabama, the number one team in the land, taking on Arkansas State in what could only be described as a mild beating. I thought that 57 points was very generous by Nick Saban. So let's ask head coach Nick Saban, are you going to ever stop being the best meme of the 2018 season?
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Next up, we have the number 2 ranked Clemson Tigers actually playing a pretty fun, interesting football game against the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, many of you know I didn't think Texas A&M had a chance in this game. I've never been a believer of the Aggies. Never have, never will. But they put on a hell of a football game, almost winning this one, losing 28-26. I was very surprised by that. That was the first time they've given up over 400 yards passing since 2013. That's 5 years for people who don't want to do math. That's pretty impressive. Give it to Jimbo here. I think he worked with a lot of Kevin Sumlin players and did the best he could. Props to them. Close loss. Don't talk to me about close losses this week. On to number 3, Georgia taking on an SEC foe in South Carolina. The Gamecocks coming in 24th, and they got blocked. 41 to... I told you they'd be bad jokes. 41-17, the Bulldogs take that one. Again, no surprise that they're one of the best teams in the country. They just keep looking good. On to Ohio State. Remember how we had some controversy because Urban Meyer's not going to be there for the first 3 games? We also forgot to mention one of the first 3 games is the Big Ten's ugly red-headed stepchild, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Ohio State wins this one easily as a surprise to no one. This game was done at halftime. Go Buckeyes. Now on to Wisconsin. Stop me if you heard this one before, but Jonathan Taylor is a very good running back. The dude ran for 253 yards. Now, granted, they were playing New Mexico, but still, 253 yards? That's terrifying if you play in the Big Ten West. 45-14, the Badgers took care of the Lobos. Now we move down to number 6, the Oklahoma Sooners. I talked a lot about it last week, how nobody could tackle for FAU. UCLA can mostly tackle in this one. Chip Kelly era off to a very bad start for the Bruins, 0-2, and not looking like it's going to get any better. Oklahoma runs away with this one, 49-21. Now we move on to number 7, Auburn, the Tigers. They have another tune-up game. It seemed like a lot of tune-up games this week. There were a few good matchups, but it's mostly tune-up week, I suppose. But Auburn takes care of business, wins easily against Alabama State. And then we go to number 8, Notre Dame. Now, remember, I apologized on last week's episode of The Audible. I said maybe this team was better than I thought. They did do very well against a pretty good Michigan team. Maybe I was wrong as well. Brandon Winbush throws 3 picks, and the Irish somehow escape Ball State 24-16. This is Ball State, a MAC team. I mean, what else can we say about that? Guess one Ball State is worth one in the Winbush? I told you they were bad. Go to number 9, Washington, who's licking their wounds after losing a hard-fought battle against Auburn. They take care of business against North Dakota 5-3, and rounding out the top 10, Stanford. And again, this isn't usually how I plan it, but I do want to kind of talk a little bit in depth about Stanford's win against USC. To me, this is important for both schools because I don't know if you guys felt this way, but I always felt that Stanford was kind of seemed like a team that was maybe past its prime. They'd still had a lot of success with David Shaw, and they still do right now, but they've had success with David Shaw. But I thought after Harbaugh left and Shaw took over, they've been to the Rose Bowl a few times. They've, been competitive. I just feel like the attention to them has kind of dropped off because people have thought that USC is back on the rise. I mean, if last night was any indication, I don't necessarily know if the Trojans are back on the rise. I think again, goes back to what I've been preaching this whole first week, and I'm going to keep preaching this week. Temper your expectations. Everybody expects Texas to be back with Tom Herman. Doesn't necessarily work out that way. Also plays into this. And also we talk about what happened against Nebraska and Colorado. Scott Frost losing his first game. Now this was a hard-fought game, and there was a lot going into this. And not having the first game, I think, did hurt Nebraska a little bit because you still saw those mistakes. But they still played very well not having that first game, being in a 14-0 hole. They still find their way out of it. So I think that's an important thing to take away. Everybody, we just need time with coaches. We just need time. And let's not jump to conclusions and think teams are immediately back in the national spotlight when they're not quite there yet. Simple as that, man. So back to the fun stuff. I mentioned Nebraska and Colorado. The rivalry is back. Holy crap, this was one of the best games of the whole week. I really enjoyed it as much as it hurt me to watch Scott Frost lose. Maybe it was the Frost effect, you know? Maybe it was the fact that we put so much hype behind this. But there's a lot of good that came out of this. Adrian Martinez, he was playing out of his mind for a true freshman who hadn't played a football game in over 600 days. Then we also, I just think the offense played very well. The only time Colorado didn't necessarily stop Nebraska's offense. Nebraska stopped themselves with turnovers and just bad penalties. Now we're going to end this show the same way we do every week with the hack of the week. This one, no surprise, comes to the Colorado-Nebraska game if you're a Nebraska fan. If you look here, number 44, he, at the end of the play, have you noticed a little something sketchy here? Yeah, it looks like he's twisting Adrian Martinez's leg. Not cool, dude. Looks like Nebraska has submitted the video to the Big Ten and the Pac-12. I don't know what's going to come of this. Maybe a suspension. But, dude, we all know this stuff happens. You can't be that obvious about it. You can't get caught. You're a hack. So that has been another episode of the college football hangover. A little bit shorter than last week. I'm still kind of working out the kinks and how long I really want this show to go. But let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Is there some things that I missed that I didn't talk about that you might have wanted? Let me know right there in the comments. Thumbs up this video if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't. I get it. College football ain't for everybody. It's not a me thing. It's the sports thing. It's not me. Click the subscribe button, and then when you do, click the bell so you get notified when Loud and Opinionated goes up, when the Audible goes up, and this show. Thanks for watching.